so far is Clarendon Northwest. Clarendon Northwest, where 20% of the votes have been counted. And there, the PNP's Richard Azan is leading the JLP's Warren Newby. Azan leading with 1,499 votes to Newby's 931. Yes? All the other results, less than 5%. Yes? I think at 5%, we will start to give you some results. Everything else, less than 5% counted, yes? So of no real significance
And to
yet.
put that into further context, Cliff, let's just tell the folks that based on what the EOJ just showed, about 8,000 votes across the island have been counted so far. Yeah, 8,000 across the island. I remind you that in 2020, 724,317 votes were cast nationally. So we are going to count at least 700,000 votes tonight, and we've only gone about 8,000. So these results are very, very early, and you should not be trying to draw conclusions from what we have presented thus far. Too early for that.
Too early, too early. So we just put up Northwest Clarendon. There is Azan for the PNP, 1,499 on screen on your set. Yes. Azan leading. He's now winning 61.6% of the votes to Warren Newby's 38% at 931. And George, Kevin, let me put some context to this, because this is a seat we have been following. Clarendon Northwest in the last parliament was represented by Henriquez of the JLP, yes? And it became an open secret that he was not performing as a member of parliament, and they drafted in young Warren Newby very late in the day. Yes, and it is felt that Richard Azan is the favorite tonight to pick this one up for the People's National Party. He has been an MP there for at least 2 previous terms. Yes. Yes? So he's expected to take that tonight.
Well, he's a favorite on paper. I remind the viewers as well that 22 of 108 of those boxes have been counted. So there's a long way to go. 22 of 108, Azan leading. In terms of Enriquez, Cliff, I think it's even more precise to say, rather than that he underperformed, he had no interest in the seat. Based on what people who live in Northwest Clarendon have said, Henriquez won the election in 2020 and went to Parliament for a few sittings, but he was never a man who intended to work the seat, to reward the people with services for having sent him to Gordon House in the first place. So it wasn't a case of a man trying and falling short. It was a case of a man who had dropped his hands and was not interested in representation, and that was apparent to the people who demanded that Party Central at Belmont Road give them somebody new, because they said anyhow Philip Enriquez was the man on the ballot going forward, then they wouldn't even bother to show up. So let's see what Warren Newby can do. But you're correct, Azan is the favorite in that seat.
Well, Manchester Central, that's what's telling us?
6 of 139 boxes counted, only 6 of 139.
Yes. So that is only 4.3% of the votes counted so far, right? 4.3%. I was hoping to keep it above 5% before we started to give you some results. But there's a seat here I'm seeing where it's over 5% of the votes counted so far. That's St. Elizabeth Northwest, 8% of the votes counted. And the JLP is leading with 338 to the PNP's 146, with 8% of the votes counted in St. Elizabeth Northwest.
The former haunt of J.C. Hutchinson, Andrew Morris, replacing him on the JLP ticket. Patricia Scarlett Forrester, the challenger for the PNP, challenger because it's not a PNP seat, not held by them in some time. 7 of 87. So, I mean, this is so early in the contest. But I see so many people on our YouTube stream, Cliff, calling for numbers, demanding numbers. So we have to feed them with numbers. But it would be foolhardy to attempt to make sense of a race in which only 7 of 87 seats have been counted so far.
Yeah. For example, in East Kingston and Port Royal, PNP safe seat, only 2.2% of the votes counted. And surprise, surprise, the PNP's Philip Paulwell is leading with 152 votes to Courtney Burnett of the Jamaica Labour Party, 8 votes. Yeah? That's what would prove the point.
Yeah, and what is curious about this, when Noragay Banton, our production supervisor, voted today, she voted in that constituency, that's where she lives. She says the disinterest of the JLP in this seat was evidenced by, I think she said there were no outdoor agents for the JLP there at the polling station that she voted at. That just goes to show you that the opposition, the JLP had written off East Kingston and Port Royal. It is alongside Central St. Mary, for me, the most orange of orange seats. Apart from 83, yeah.
Portland West, only 1.9% of the votes in, and the PNP's Doreen Campbell is leading with 75 to Daryl Vars's 37.
More in context,
less than 2% of the votes counted.
Precisely 2 of 104 boxes in Portland Western Western Portland have been counted. 2 boxes out of 104.
In Trelawney Northern, yes, only 1.4% of the votes counted, and the PNP's Wickham McNeil is trailing the JLP's Tova Hamilton. Tova Hamilton leading with 128 to McNeil's 51.
In North Central St. Catherine, we just got a flash there, North Central St. Catherine, well, if I got that graphic again, North Central St. Catherine is showing the PNP candidate leading in that one. No count yet from West Kingston.
North Central St. Catherine?
Yeah, what do you have there?
The JLP is leading with only 3.7% of the votes counted, 3.7. The JLP is leading with 176 to the PNP's 165. This is Natalie Nita Garvey's seat. Yes, that she's expected to carry comfortably. But with only 3.7% of the votes in, the JLP is taking an early lead. But that, as I said, we've been saying, no trend yet. No trend. Yes? Okay? And in St. Catherine South, that is Fitzjackson's seat. Fitzjackson, 4% of the votes counted. Fitzjackson is leading with 380 to 203 for Delroy Dobney for the Jamaica Labour Party.
6 of 150 boxes.
Exactly. All right? So those are some of the early results we have. The moment we get it updated, we'll give you some more of the results.
All right. So what we need to talk about at this point is not just the voting turnout, and not just the fact that there needs to be something. People talk about clean up voters list. I wouldn't put it like that. But there is no way that we can be satisfied with how the process went for so many people, notwithstanding that so many more had a streamlined experience. Fact of the matter is that we are dealing with an electoral process that has come such a far way that it is not too much to ask for the powers that be to sit down, look at the whole process again, and iron out the pain points, because there are pain points in it, and it would be selfish even as someone who does not have trouble inside the polling booth to believe that that is the majority, and it's only a minority, so we should ignore the complaints from those who time after time have difficulty when they go to the polling station. There was one lady who called this morning who said she spent an hour in West Central St. Andrew. Nobody, none of the 8 people in front of her went in. She left, and when she returned after 4, an hour had passed, and she still had not cast her ballot, and she was going to stay with the process, and she would have been in the line by 5 p.m., and of course would have been under law required to be facilitated in casting her ballot. Cliff, what do you have? You have another number update?
No, not yet. Not yet.
You know what I'd like to, a statistic I'd like, George, from the EOJ. What percentage of people have picked up their voter cards? Because, as I say, Jamaicans love to complain and blame other people.
That's right.
When it comes, the fundamental problem is their own.
That's right.
If everybody picked up their voter's card, the system would go much faster. So what percentage have picked it up?
Yeah.
Now, I know I have mine up. I lost mine years ago. But so when I go and have to wait, I don't complain.
Yes.
But yet some of these people, and I said it, Jamaicans, and I think EOJ isn't wrong in some aspects.
Yes.
But it's time, take some blame for the problem you're causing.
Wenchen, we often blanch at the term marrying. When you marry this good, marry that item to get them moving. But could we perhaps explore the EOJ marrying the voter ID card with something to ensure that more people collect them, lending itself to a smoother process at the polling booth?
Well, the fact that you need a card for many transactions suggests to me that many of the cards sitting there, and this is something perhaps for a future program, I don't think we have tracked the number of Jamaicans who have actually left the country. When I travel in the Eastern Caribbean, I see far greater numbers of Jamaicans there than any official figures suggest. And I suspect that the number in other jurisdictions tends to be high. Also, I adverted earlier to people leaving the parish of origin, whether Manchester, where I am sitting down now, and moving to St. Catherine or Kingston or St. James more and more for work, and just not bothering to go back to the local office to pick up the card. So it's multiple reasons. I think successive governments have done what is necessary in terms of requiring a government-issued photo ID for certain transactions. And if that is not sufficient spur, I don't think there's much else you can do at this point. Now, when we transition to the NIDS, the National ID card, all of this discussion will become redundant.
Professor Blake?
Yeah, I agree with Wayne that, marrying with the NIDS is going to clean up a lot of that. But I'd like to talk a little bit about civic engagement. I think that there needs to be a kind of relook at civic engagement writ large. Because if people have the IDs and they don't pick them up, they went through the process of trying to get them, they didn't pick them up, right, then that is saying to me that there's something deeper than just getting the IDs, that the civic engagement, the act of actually going into the polling area, there's a disconnect there. And so, both political parties, they do a lot in terms of their campaigning and they're drumming up support in the base. But, there needs to be, I think, a more sensitization around the value of civic engagement and people's kind of responsibility in being a part of the political process. And on the youth panel, they talked about there are different ways that young people, for example, are engaging in politics, right? And with social media, they are letting their voices heard in those kinds of ways. But the way that really matters is actually casting the ballot. And I think that, education, I think, academics, the school system, that we all have a role to play in going back to that old school fundamental civic engagement. We have to do that.
The dark arts, gentlemen, were at play in this election campaign, especially in the last days. And even today, the FID had to issue a statement saying that a message being circulated on social media about the entity recommending that the Prime Minister be charged for serious crimes was false. Then we heard the police issuing a statement to say that a bomb threat at a BPO off Port Henderson Road in Portmore St. Catherine was being dealt with, that the staff had been evacuated and that they were attending to it. Then we saw, at least in one constituency, where a candidate was reporting that her team felt intimidated inside a polling area where rival supporters had blocked the roadway, preventing vehicular traffic from coming through, and created an artificial bottleneck to prevent people from coming in. Then you had a series of coordinated bomb, which they turned out to be bomb hoaxes late last week as the security forces and election day workers went out to vote. Given where we are coming from, should we be concerned about the dark arts rearing their ugly head again? Or given where we are come from, where the violence was rampant, especially in the 80s, we should look at this and say, well, this is tame compared to what obtained back in the day, so it's not necessary to pay it much attention. Wayne, I want to hear you first.
Any sort of mischief like this ought to be condemned and certainly removed from our electoral process. But it's really petty and mild stuff compared to what has happened in the past. There have been one of the successes of Jamaican institution building has been the building of our electoral system, which has really gained credibility over the years. The EOJ has done a terrific job. The creation of what we have now is really world-class and better than many so-called first world countries. What you outlined today is really nothing new. A decade ago, I knew of instances where strange men on motorcycles would ride into certain communities and perform all sorts of acrobatics on their bikes in the middle of the night to intimidate people to stay home. People would be... intimidation, I don't see today at the same level as I would have seen 40 years ago. Nowhere. We haven't had any instances of violence, people being attacked or harmed for their political views or their voting patterns. In fact, this election, 2025, I've seen more people in orange and green mingling on the road than I've ever seen in any general election in this country. We have matured terrifically as a country. And the little, sorry, I don't want to minimize what you have said in any way, George. But over the years, I've spent time almost as a confessor to hear some of the tricks that political activists of all stripes have done over the years. I've heard people laugh and remember how they sabotage a whole political party's communication system by literally chopping down antennas and destroying. This is pre-cellular phone days.
Yes.
So the sort of acts of sabotage that I have had people tell me about directly, the acts of intimidation, the acts of violence, because I've interviewed many, many Jamaicans over the years. This generation of young Jamaicans would not have any concept of where we are coming from, apart from hearing about it in the historical context. But what I saw today, and I drove around quite a bit, was a lot of intermingling, a lot of camaraderie on the road, which is really, really good. I mean, as somebody who has been in the witness process since 1972, it's the best I have ever seen it. But of course, we'll condemn any trickery and flimflammery. But where we are today is a far cry from where we're coming from.
And so should we be more accepting, Kevin? And should we say, well, the things that have cropped up, that I've listed, are not so serious, given as Wayne said, we were dealing with far more serious things not so long ago?
We can walk on sugar, and as Dr. Horace Chang said yesterday, I heard him, we need to celebrate our democracy more. We have a wonderful democracy. This election is unquestionably the best in our history. I was voting today and the two rival camps are laughing and joking with each other. We're the envy of much of the world. So to let a few instances of skullduggery blank out the 95% good. Of course, if you don't stamp out the skullduggery, it will grow. And it's like a cancer, you got to cut it out and kill it. But let us celebrate how far we have come. And this is one of my problems with the Jamaican media. They often focus on 5% of negativity, and if 95% positivity is just not paid attention to. And we need to let people know how special our democracy is. I'll give you one special aspect of it.
Yes.
We have a white man, full British Jew, leading a 95% black country. And it's not even thought worthy of comment.
Yeah.
Nobody considers it an issue.
Yes.
Now in the rest of the world, it's unthinkable.
Yes.
Yeah, you have a minority leaders, but they always think, what does it mean and all that?
Yes.
Nobody's asking what it means because it's taken for granted.
Yes.
You know, so we need to look at the positives and tell people, let them understand that Jamaicans have a very negative view of politics, naturally because of what happened in the 70s and 80s, a close civil war. We've come a long way, but unless the media tells them and educates them, they're going to have a negative view of politics continually.
Well, we have some more numbers. They're not coming up on the smart board yet from the electoral office. But you know, I have sources all over the country, right, who are inside the preliminary count.
Oh my gosh.
And in West Central St. James, a seat that we were speculating before the elections is going to be a toss-up. Marlene Malahoo Fort and Dr. Andre Horton. Well, 12 boxes counted. Malahoo Fort has won 9 of the 12 boxes. Andre Horton has won 3 of the 12 boxes. For example, at the preliminary count in PD 20, Malahoo Fort won 55 votes to Horton's 47. In PD 40A, Malahoo Fort gained 50 votes to the PNP's 33. And also in PD 16, JLP edged out the PNP 49-45. In PD 41A, Malahoo Fort won that comfortably with 92 votes to the PNP's 59. PD 54, she gained 93 votes to the PNP's 73. PD 21, 58 to 41 to Malahoo Fort. Yes. PD 53, she won 83 to 63. Still early days, 12 boxes. Yes, but the EOJ website is saying only 3.8% or just about 130 votes counted. Yeah? If you can bring that up for me, that's what they're showing there on the St. James West Central site. 2 of 106 boxes. Well, by my traditional method, when I came into journalism,
yes,
this is how we used to do it. You hear you smart young people?
Yes.
Yeah?
Yeah.
This is how we used to
back in my day.
You should tell the folks though, and I'm looking at the same numbers you have here, that the numbers on the board just now are well behind the numbers you gave. So you have the more advanced numbers that the smart board gave.
Yes.
I can also tell you that in Northeast St. Andrew Cliff, Northeast St. Andrew.
Stacey Knight versus Delroy Chuck.
Yes, PD 16, 145 for Chuck, 28 for Knight. PD 64, 70 for Chuck, 32 for Knight. PD 65, 55 for Chuck, 119 for Knight. 66, PD 66, 119 for Chuck, 23 for Knight. So of the 4 PDs that we're looking at, Knight won one of those, PD 65, the other 3, Chuck, with daylight between himself and the attorney at law.
What do you make of that one? The PNP has been talking up the chances for Stacey Knight, saying that she's going to create an upset.
65 to 32. When you have a 2-to-1 ratio, it's hardly likely when you swing it unless Chuck did something terrible. People are comfortable with him for years as an MP. Why should we suddenly vote this guy out?
Well, we don't know.
And there's no compelling reason.
Yeah.
I would be stunned if Chuck lost.
I hear we have a live feed from Belmont Road and from the EOJ. Let's check in with Belmont Road to see what the mood is like as the Team JLP, led by the leader, the Prime Minister Andrew Holness, settle down. And we understand that they're watching this coverage of the election results show. Can we make that link with Belmont Road, the JLP's headquarters in St. Andrew? Good afternoon. All right, just a moment before we get that ironed out. Belmont Road, we understand that the Prime Minister did his tour of the corporate area early today and retreated to his election centre. The opposition leader did the same. Around about 3 o'clock, he ceased his activities on the road and went to the PNP's Old Hope Road headquarters. So both men going to their bases with time to spare to get a sense of the national picture and wait for the official numbers to match what their canvasses across the 63 constituencies would have told them about the likely direction of the election. Do we have that link ready yet with Belmont Road? All right, we don't have that link.
Did Horace Chang promise you some numbers?
Well, he didn't promise me some numbers.
I heard him promise you one seat count.
He did say he'd have numbers ready for the media. Didn't say that he'd have numbers ready for the media. He said it back at 5 with a seat count, sir. That's right.
I heard him clearly.
And he said late after 4 that based on what he was seeing, that they were ahead. And I'm certain that if we had spoken to the JLP, the PNP General Secretary at that time, he would have said the same thing, that his numbers were showing him and the PNP well ahead. Dayton Campbell with skin in the game. He is in Eastern Westmoreland. So too Dr. Horace Chang in Northwest St. James. May I ask Saeed and the youngsters to opine on where the health of the democracy. Issues that have been reported by the media. Kevin always talks about the media focusing on the bad things, the few bad things, but if we don't, people say we're suppressing information. So Saeed and his panel, the issue of voter suppression and intimidation these days, are we to treat them seriously or as just political gamesmanship, given the horrid and the torrid past that we've had politically where elections are concerned?
Well, I don't even need to repeat that question. Let me just straight directly to Joshua. What do you think?
Yeah, I personally don't think Jamaica will go back to the bloody election of the 1980s, specifically 1980. I think we're at a point where a majority of people are willing to not only engage across the aisle, but aren't like locked into that mindset like decades ago, right? I think a large portion of the voter population, that being younger persons as well, aren't locked into I was raised in a JLP family, therefore I will vote within a JLP, like on the lines of JLP, right? And I think that's one of the causes of that period of contention between both parties. It was just blind following. But I think more people are mindful, first of all, and I think we've gotten to a point where we'll never see people, shooting you because you're voting JLP.
All right. Well, Suel, we were talking earlier about the role that education has to play in this. As young people, we are going to university more. We are, buying more cars, going into more professions and all of that. And Sue laughs because, the last time she said it, the comments weren't so good. So I'm putting her on the spot here again. Does that help to delay or to mitigate against the impact of voter suppression and those other dark tactics that they talk about in impeding younger persons in going to the polls?
Yeah, I think we're in a different era. I think what was said a while ago, I think we're not so locked into that kind of tribalistic kind of politics that we grew up in. And I grew up in East Kingston, and I tweeted today when I went to vote and I was driving home, I tweeted today that it's the first in a long time I'm driving on Mountain View on election day, and I see people in green and orange clothes, talking, riding on the same bike and that sort of thing. And I was like, as a little girl growing up in East Kingston, like my mother was a victim of violence when I was small. So I don't see us going back to that stage. And I think one of the other things that we need to be aware of too is with the reduction of crime. I think people are sort of thinking twice before you do something stupid nowadays, because if you do something and it goes on the internet in 24 hours, the police are gonna find you. So I think those little things, I think we're in a different environment, and I think people are not so quick to go to that extent to prove a point or that sort of thing. So I don't see us going back there, but I do agree that these little things that we've been seeing, like the people calling people not to vote for this party or, to stay home, I do think we should absolutely make it clear that we are not standing for something like that.
Okay, and quickly, who do you think is more nervous? The politicians or the voters? As a matter of fact, let me throw a third party into that, if they permit me. Do you think the pollsters are also nervous? So who do you think is most nervous? The politicians, the voters, or the pollsters? One has it a 10-point gap, one has dead heat. Who do you think is most nervous? One word. Politicians, the voters, or the pollsters? Joshua?
Voters.
The voters. So,
Politicians.
the politicians. Yeah, I think I agree with you.
You have to just go pollster.
Oh, I must go posters. Stick with me, and when I come back, I'll give you my answer. Who is most nervous?
Thank you, Saeed. Just before we go, the results, the counts coming in very slowly from the Electoral Office of Jamaica. We have just had some new numbers from Westmoreland Central. That's George Wright for the JLP, the incumbent, versus Dwayne Vaz for the PNP. But much, much too early. Only 1.2% of the votes counted in Westmoreland Central, and the JLP's George Wright is leading with 101. Or 54, 57% to Vaz's 74. Also, very, very early, a result coming in from St. Elizabeth Southwest. That's Floyd Green seat versus Miranda Wellington. Floyd, with less than a percentage of the boxes counted, has taken an early lead with 71 to Miranda Wellington 16. Those are the two new counts we have had in the last several minutes.
And we're stretching it to say it's a count because it's only one of 113.
Absolutely, absolutely.
I can tell you though, before we go to the break, that where Central Manchester is concerned, looking at some numbers here, PD 111, we showed you an earlier graphic which showed Crawford with a marginal lead very, very early in the race. Two more PDs, information from two more PDs. PD 110, Crawford had 51 votes in that PD, Mitchell 52, so 1 vote differential in PD 110. And then PD 111, Crawford 71, Mitchell 54. Yeah? And PD 18 in West Central St. Andrew. West Central St. Andrew, PD 18. The results coming through now. PD 18, Marlene Malahoo Fort, 92 votes.
West Central St. James.
West Central St. James, West Central St. James, Marlene Malahoo Fort, 92 votes. Dr. Andre Horton, 50 votes in PD 18 in West Central St. James. Then in PD 20, they've declared PD 20 in West Central St. James. 55 votes for Malahoo Fort, 47 for Dr. Horton. Then in 40A, Malahoo Fort, 50 votes, Horton, 33. PD 16, Malahoo Fort, 49, Horton, 45. 41A, Malahoo Fort, 92, Horton, 59. And some of these votes, Cliff gave them already, but I can tell you that PD 53, the newest one to come through, Malahoo Fort 83, and Andre Horton, Dr. Andre Horton 63. This is West Central St. James.
So still too early. We're going to go to our next break and come back with more.
No matter who you are or where you're heading, your journey matters.
With Amber On Time, experience seamless fast booking, real-time tracking, reliable drivers, and top-tier safety features. Share your trip with loved ones for peace of mind.
With Hawkeye-powered SOS, armed response is just a tap away, because every second counts in an emergency.
Trusted by thousands across Jamaica, Amber On Time is more than a ride. It's your partner on the road.
Amber On Time. Your ride, your safety, your Jamaica. Download the app today.
For all your electrical needs, visit ABC Electrical Sales. They stock a wide variety of electrical supplies, including plugs, switches, panel boards, and conduits, plus energy-saving fixtures. ABC Electrical Sales stocks brands like GE, Siemens, Philips, Cutler Hammer, and Allen Bradley. They also offer free island-wide delivery just to suit your needs. Visit them at Shop 8, Hagley Park Plaza, Kingston 10, or call 876-754-3714-5 or 876-754-3825-8. ABC Electrical Sales, for a better choice in the electrical business.
This is the World Championships Athletes Profile.
Step forward now. Tina Clayton it is. Tina Clayton has been ripping it up.
Tina Clayton heads to her first World Senior Championships as the national champion of Jamaica.
Bang out quickly. Fraser Price is out well. So to Tina Clayton. Tina Clayton comes forward. So to the Sharika Jackson. Tia puts up. Tina's still there. Tina Clayton. Sharika Jackson and Shelly and Fraser Price. Tina Clayton gets the win this evening.
And Injury Ravage 2024 forced her to sit on the sidelines and watched as her twin sister Tia captured the headlines at her first global event, the Olympic Games in Paris. Tina is without question at the forefront of a group set to take Jamaica's female sprinting into the future.
Well, every athlete who wears that yellow vest in the sprints for Jamaica carries a certain responsibility, and at the moment Tina Clayton's carrying it very well, that she's a metre clear of the rest.
There can be no better place to start than at the World Championships. In addition to After beating the likes of Shelley and Fraser Price and Sherika Jackson at the Nationals, Tina finished a creditable second at a meet in Hungary against world-class field. Tina has got the two premier female sprinters in the world today in her sights, Melissa Jefferson Wooden and the Olympic champion Julian Alfred.
To stay healthy, that's the main focus for me. I feel really great, and I think everything that have happened this year is based on the setbacks that I had over the years, and sometimes, you know, when things ain't going right, you want to give up, but there's always a little voice to not give up.
The 20-year-old bows into action on the first day of competition in Japan.
Clayton there in lane 5. God bless got away well, but now Clayton's well into a running. Jackson's got something to do, but it's going to be Clayton who's running away from the field, and she's won this in emphatic fashion.
You can follow her progress on Nationwide 90 FM.
That was the World Championships Athletes Profile.
Hi there. Here's some good news for these trying times. Quote, "By God's word, I can see where I'm going. They throw a beam of light on my dark path." Unquote. Psalm 119, verse 105. Listen for God's Word weekdays at 5:45 a.m. and 12:55 p.m. through
Oasis. Stop by for a refreshing drink and share a God perspective for the day.
Oasis. Weekdays 5:45 a.m. and 12:55 p.m. right here on Nationwide, a revolution in media.
The rebroadcast of the Oasis can be heard weekdays at 5:45 a.m.
Anonymous, this one is very classic, dedicated to all schoolers who are taking them.
If you've ever struggled to pass an exam, then you'll know that students today are under great pressure to get good grades and secure qualification needed to move on to higher education. The problem is that too many students are struggling alone and could really benefit from connecting with hardworking teachers and other bright students in other parts of the country and the region. Join me, Dennis Brooks, this and every Friday evening from 8 to 9, with a repeat on Saturday morning from 8 to 9. For the A-Team, a study group on radio. My team of teachers, students, and experts will break down the syllabus, giving you information, tips, and past paper questions that will help you get top grades in your upcoming exams. Follow us on Facebook Live and on Twitter and be a part of the community. It's the A-Team, Fridays at 8 p.m. with a repeat at 8 o'clock on Saturday morning. It's your free extra class on radio and social media. And it's right here on Nationwide 90 FM, the revolution in media.
With us here at the election center as we cover the general election of 2025, the 19th since 1944. It's the race to 32, and we're getting very preliminary numbers coming through from right across the island. Too early to make any determination as to where particular seats are going. We have like 2 of 108 boxes, 5 of 106, that kind of thing, but we're giving the numbers to you as we get them. We have Wayne Walker, our man on location at the EOJ's Election Center on Red Hills Road. Wayne, good evening.
Good evening to you, George.
All right, what's the action like where you are?
Well, what we have here, I might have to turn because the result dashboard is away to my left. And what we have on the result dashboard and the progress report is pretty much what you guys have there in studio. The PNP is leading in 12 constituencies, the JLP in 11, and the last update was at 704. It's slow in coming, as Cliff mentioned. The highest number so far in terms of the box counted, the Clarendon Northwest, 20% of the boxes counted, and the 1,499 to Richard Azan, 931 to Warren Newby. There's also the St. Andrew West Rural constituency, where we've got, 6% of the boxes counted, and Juliet Cuthbert Flynn from the JLP, 379 to 483 for Joan Gordon Webley, and the Director of Election just stepped in here. We don't have the situation to talk to him, so we might have to put him in the seat and let you have a chat to them guys back in studio. But it's early days yet. It's slow in coming in terms of the update. I've seen this update. Well, it just said it was updated at 7:05, but we've seen these numbers for a little while now, and we'll just have to be working with them. There's another constituency that I'm really looking forward to tonight, the Westmoreland Eastern, where the General Secretary of the People's National Party, Dr. Dayton Campbell, is down there running for that seat. It'd be very interesting to see how that one goes. The Kingston Central seat also is going to be a one to watch tonight. I was down there today, and it was all action with Donovan Williams defending his seat against the newcomer to representational politics, Steve McGregor. So yeah, generally we've seen these numbers up for the longest while. Not so sure why they've not changed as yet, despite it says it was updated last at 7:06. So the PNP, they're leading in 12 constituencies, the JLP in 11 of them. And that's pretty much what's happening here. I mean, a lot of media representatives are here.
Wayne, may I ask you, Wayne, may I ask you,
Yes.
well, not that it is pointing to anything significant, but I just want to get an idea of the progression of the count. Based on what you have and what you're seeing on the board, is it only one seat in which any of the candidates there has breached the 1,000 vote mark? And that is in Northwest Clarendon, Richie Azan, am I correct?
Easily, and the closest to that, just to put it into context, the closest to that is 443. The last time I looked at, 483, and that was in St. Andrew West Rural. Yeah, it was the same one as Juliet Cuthbert Flynn and Joan Gordon Webley. So yeah, by miles, the 1,000 mark has only been breached only by the Azan newbie situation down there in Clarendon, Northwestern.
Yeah, and I can tell everybody, because we've been having some challenges here, it's not a secret to say, and I've just confirmed that the major internet providers are having challenges. I've just seen people sending me screenshots of their TV where they're getting a message. For instance, Digicel Plus is saying some customers may have experienced difficulty browsing the internet or noticed degraded TV service over the past few hours, and the teams are working on it. And you get that perpetual circle moving to indicate that there are internet problems there. My own home, they're not able to watch the coverage because there's no internet service there. And again, it's the same message that is there. So internet outages across parts of the corporate area, compromising work that the internet, of course, facilitates happening in quick time.
Very good point, because we experienced it along the journeys that we traversed today, covering the elections, and of course some of the polling stations that we visited were having internet problems as well. I just didn't know it spilled over into the counting as well.
Well, guess what, Wayne?
Why are they taking so long?
Well, guess what, Wayne? You're going to be more important to us tonight, because we're going to have to come to you at regular intervals, given that it's not our own system here, our own internet. It's a citywide issue. We're going to have to leave heavily on you to give us those updates as that board is refreshed significantly. You said the last refresh was at 7:05, 4 minutes ago?
No, 7:08. It's showing 7:08, and the numbers are still the same.
Still the same.
If you see me looking away, the Director of Elections is here, Glasspool Brown, and he's going to be walking into our shot. We don't have the situation where we talk back to him. So, another media house has grabbed him. He has decided to talk to us, and if you hold a bit, we probably could grab him for a couple of seconds, because we really want to hear from him. But yeah, we're clearly experiencing some internet issues here, while the numbers are not turning over as quickly as they ought to. But yeah, quite an interesting night so far. I mean, nothing yet, is very early days, but it's still very, very interesting. I mean, for those who are at home and not being able to watch it, I really pity you, because it's an interesting night. I'm sure people spend months looking forward to.
Wayne, I can give the viewers some numbers coming in from central Manchester. PD 57 Rhoda Crawford, 41 votes there. Donovan Mitchell, 107. PD 78B, Crawford, 28. Mitchell, 56. PD 78A, Crawford, 34. Mitchell, 63. PD 46, Crawford, 80. Mitchell, 58. PD 47, Crawford, 46. Mitchell, 93. And PD 24B, Rhoda Moy Crawford, 58. Donovan Mitchell, 59. And I just got a new entry here. PD 24A, Crawford 39, Mitchell 59. So from these numbers, it does appear as if Donovan Mitchell has poached a lead over Rhoda Moy Crawford in that race in central Manchester at the early stage in the counting. I'm getting some... Go ahead, Wayne.
No, I was just telling you, it's one of the constituencies I'm looking forward to about 9 or 10 with more interest than I would for the others. And Central Manchester with Rhoda Moy and Donovan Mitchell is certainly one of them.
Yes, I can also give you some numbers, Wayne, and panel from Central Kingston. PD 45, Donovan Williams 34, Steve McGregor 1. PD 54, Donovan Williams 102, Steve McGregor 8. PD 58, Donovan Williams 116, Steve McGregor 5. These PDs seem to be in the strong JLP areas, which explains the chasm between the numbers for the respective candidates. In competitive PDs, they will be close. So that's an indicator that these are PDs in strongholds for the person leading. Cliff.
And just let me tell you, I've just had a statement from Digicel saying, dear valued customers, on this important election day for Jamaica, we have experienced another act of deliberate vandalism to our connectivity partners network. A small minority has disrupted essential services and critical communication channels at a time when national connectivity is most needed. According to Digicel, it condemns this criminal action in the strongest terms. The targeted damage has interrupted home internet, mobile, and TV services for a number of customers. These acts not only inconvenience individuals and businesses, but also undermine economic activity and public safety. According to Digicel, their engineers and technical teams are working continuously to restore services as quickly and safely as possible. At the same time, they are cooperating fully with law enforcement authorities to ensure those responsible are identified and prosecuted, and they apologize to their customers for the disruption.
Yeah, confirming that acts of sabotage have compromised the internet service. Wayne, I understand that the Director of Elections has taken your chair. The Director, good evening, Glasspool Brown.
Good afternoon to you and your listeners.
Based on the reports from your team, how was today?
And there were some challenges, but if you assess us in terms of all the criteria that you use to assess a good election, I think we did a good job.
And the pace of voting so slow, how could you end up describing it?
There's some issues in it. There were some issues in the pace. We are going to do the assessment and to look at all the factors that would have contributed. But one of the major factors, Cliff, that would have contributed, a number of our persons continue to come to the polling station without their renewed ID card. And you had to go through a longer process in terms of taking the loan, etc., etc. And what you find also, a number of persons turn up very early in the morning, and it creates a little pressure on the system. If you went to most of the polling station after 2 p.m., is that easy walk through the polling station? So all that in terms of the orderliness that would have been good for us in the morning was not there. So but as I said, we are doing our assessment. We do in terms of what transpired today, and then we'll review it, and then we'll see where we would have gone wrong.
You have been pointing out, Mr. Director, throughout the day that if people are in line at 5 o'clock, they will be allowed to vote. Yes? Tell me, what is your report in terms of polling stations going beyond 5 o'clock? Have you had several of those polling stations opening beyond 5 o'clock to help those people who have been inconvenienced who were in line?
Everybody that was in line at 5 p.m. were allowed to vote. Certainly based on our data, by 6 o'clock, a little bit after 6, most polling stations were closed.
were closed, but they were in a position and continued to facilitate people well into the evening. Not after 6 o'clock is a question I'm asking, because we're getting reports, some people who are saying it is taking them an hour and a half. Oh, we lost him. Sorry about that.
All right, so I'm trying to do a tally here of some numbers because I'm getting more numbers out of Central Manchester. And I think I have, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 PDs now out of Central Manchester. And to give the complete picture, I might have to go through the 6 again. So PD 24A, Rhoda Crawford 39, Donovan Mitchell 59. PD 33, Crawford 101, Mitchell 42. PD 16, Crawford 71, Mitchell 68. PD 66, Crawford 97, Mitchell 61. PD 13A, Crawford 33, Mitchell 92. PD 13B, Crawford 27, Mitchell 95. PD 51, Crawford 56, Mitchell 36. PD 36, Crawford 85, Mitchell 47. PD 65, Crawford 55, Mitchell 66. PD 101A, Crawford 31, Mitchell 77. PD 26, Crawford 86, Mitchell 45. PD 102, Crawford 23, Mitchell 75. PD 101B, Crawford 29, Mitchell 70. PD 18, Crawford 62, Mitchell 44.
So George, the question is, our viewers can't add up those, you know.
So why you not add them?
Me can't add them.
All right, you want to do the numbers and add them for you? I can't. I'm going to tally them. I was hoping that your interview with the director carried, so I'll get the chance to tally the numbers. I can also
we need to know what they mean.
Yeah, but hold on, Cliff. I can also give an update on Central Kingston. Fret not, our listeners are very bright people and viewers. Let me do Central Kingston again because I've gotten some more information. So PD 45, Williams 34, McGregor 1. PD 54, Williams 102, McGregor 8. PD 58, Williams 116, McGregor 5. PD 57, Williams 181, McGregor 8. PD 55A, Williams 103, McGregor 9. PD 55B, Williams 115, McGregor 4. Across these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 PDs, McGregor has not gotten more than 9 votes in any of the 9 PDs. And Williams' scores 34, 102, 116, 181, 103, 115. So Williams is poaching a big lead before the expected flood of McGregor boxes. In the PDs coming, I'm
Jenny, can we turn to you at the smart board? Any numbers yet? Do we? Oh, the internet has affected us here. Yes, we have no internet here, and it's really affecting our ability to tabulate and to really make use of the smart board.
Here's what I'm going to do. I think we should throw to Sondre and his panel, and then we have a chance to tally what we have so far based on the traditional way we get in. Information as journalists.
Yes.
So Sondre Roden is on point and he's hanging with 2 of his friends. Sondre, I guess the question to ask is the pain points that to this minute are frustrating people in line at polling stations to vote. How do you suggest that the EOJ conquer a problem that has bedeviled elections of the past?
Well, that's a good point, George, and it's good to be here with all our viewers and listeners. With me, I have Suel, that has been here with us from earlier, and Decar Diego, a very interesting name, if I may say so myself, and he's here as well as a part of Jade. I heard Cliff talking earlier with the Director of Elections, and the Director of Elections said it was a good day, but I have my concerns, George. I was in line for about 2 hours and 30 minutes, in line for 2 hours and 30 minutes. And that is concerning. That's concerning to me. That's concerning to other persons that I heard about in different spaces in Trelawney, etc., that had similar circumstances. And that in and of itself is a challenge. So, how do we fix this?
I mean, I think it has to be a multi-pronged approach. I think, and when I went to vote this morning, I also had some issues with the fingerprinting thing. I kept printing it, they had to wipe it with alcohol. Like nothing they did worked until all of a sudden, out of nowhere, just started working. So I think going into these things, we need to make sure that things are prepared. And I know when it comes to electronics, the least thing can throw things off. So I think we need to be testing these machines way before we go into the actual day. I think some of the other things that I heard people talking about too was that a lot of the workers weren't really aware of the process, so I'm not sure what the training that went into the day happening. So I think there are lots of things that were at play, and I think just the little details, like just little comfort things that we can do. If we know that there's a station where the inside is small, so people will be gathering outside a lot. Maybe add a little tent, some chair, just little things that we can do to, even if you have to wait a long time, at least I'm sitting down, at least it's a little shade. So I'm not just standing in the sun. So I think there's lots of little detailed things that we can do where even if the technology part of it is failing, at least people are comfortable with it.
Well, I was standing in the sun. Diego, what would you say to the EOJ about the long wait that some people would have had to experience?
Right. So I think, speaking from experience, what I experienced today, I went to the polling station, and something that I noticed is that there are a lot of elderly persons at the station. A challenge is that there isn't enough persons there to assist them in getting their ballots, space, as she said, to sit. These are some of the issues that they had. So I think there needs to be a suitable amount of persons allocated to assist these kind of persons. Because we talked about younger
And the 7-star general,
she defeated him.
Brother,